Your home shouldn't look like a tax write-off in a midlife crisis had a baby. Hi everybody, welcome back. If you don't know, my name is Cooper, and today we're going to be talking about how to design your home like a real person and not like you just got divorced. And today's video is going to be really fun. I'm going to be breaking down why your space might look like you just got divorced, how to fix it, and really make it feel like a reflection of you and a place that you want to be. And by no means is this a video to hate on divorcees, but some of you guys are furnishing your home like you lost a custody battle and your taste. Let's start with the most obvious symptom. Your place looks like it said, I'll take whatever's cheapest, fastest, and doesn't make me feel anything. And everything is either gray or taupe, which is not cute. You own one pillow and your bed is just a mattress on the floor. This is not minimalism, it's a breakdown. You guys, you can still have warmth and be minimal. It is possible. At some point, we lost the plot and decided that minimalism was an all gray and beige space, when in reality, it's a design ethos about what's necessary in your space and keeping it to only those things. So you can have minimalism, but you can have it in different styles. You can have an eclectic minimal space, you can have a farmhouse minimal space, you can have all kinds of different minimal spaces, but we definitely don't want a divorced dad minimalist space. The first clue that tells me your space looks like a divorced dad lives there is going to be the solo furniture syndrome. And you might be saying, Cooper, what does that even mean? Basically, that would mean you have one couch, one side table, one coffee table, one mattress on the floor, and you might be saying, Cooper, that sounds normal. That sounds like a regular person's house. But it's a little bit different than that. When it comes to these spaces, they're extra bland and have nothing added to them. It almost looks like somebody staged it to sell your house. Basically, if your living room looks like a furniture showroom but sadder, congratulations, you have solo furniture syndrome. Okay, so how do you fix this kind of thing? It might be a little bit obvious, but I'm still gonna go through it. The first thing is going to be adding layers to your space. Since you've only got this foundational stuff, you really want to make sure that you create something dynamic and intentional. And the best way to do that is to start with decor items. So think books, think little trays, plants, and lighting. Put something on the walls that isn't abstract line art. Like, you guys, you're not in witness protection. You can let a little personality show. I always recommend going down to the thrift store, the vintage store, if you're on a little bit more of a budget. You can find a ton of unique and cool decor items down there that'll really help warm up your space for a really good price. The next sign your space looks like a divorced dad lives there is going to be decorating using alcohol. And this is something that I struggle to understand because it's just beyond me. I think this is gonna hurt some of you guys, but why do you have a giant liquor shelf? It's just not necessary. The entire bar cart setup that people have going on with the LED lights and all the tequila, it just looks like you're in a club. It's giving Friday night at Buffalo Wild Wings and not, I'm a refined adult with taste. Like, I understand making a little bar area that's cute. I get that. But when you're using it as decor, it just doesn't function very well, and it makes things feel really weird and off. I'm not telling you guys to ditch your bar cart or ditch that entire space as a concept, but let's rethink it and restyle it. When I walk into people's spaces, I see it as a reflection of them. And so if I walk into your space and just see alcohol bottles everywhere, I'm probably just going to be concerned. Like, I don't think anyone wants their house to look like a frat boy lives there. So rethink things a little bit. Maybe go down to the thrift store and get some really unique and cool barware. A small sculpture, a plant, or a little piece of art to put above it. Like, it's really not that hard, but just spice it up a little bit. Don't just make your one centerpiece in your home the bar area. It's gonna make things look weird and bland and boring. And honestly, you guys, there's a ton of really great vintage bar carts out there, so make sure you check Facebook Marketplace and see if you can find a mid-century one. And something that I would always recommend when it comes to bar spaces in your home is going to be making things enclosed. I don't feel like displaying alcohol just out open air is very aesthetically pleasing, at least to my own eye, but I always think it's great if it's in enclosed storage. So I would look for a bar cart or a little bar that has that enclosed storage, and you can kind of decorate the top, you know, with whatever you want. The next symptom of divorced dad energy is going to be empty walls. And you guys, let me start off by saying that I'm not opposed to empty walls, but when it's every single wall, it's a problem. Why have you been living in that apartment for 1 year and your walls are still blank? It doesn't feel clean. clean or minimal, it just feels unfinished. Like, I moved into my house a couple months ago and I have plenty of blank walls, and I can tell you right now that it feels unfinished. Maybe hang up some old art that you have sitting in your closet, or frame some family photos, concert tickets, or even menus from restaurants that you really love. I find that hanging these really sentimental items, it makes your space feel really warm and cozy and like a home. Honestly, just do something here. Like, anything at all will help. Even if it's a sconce, even if it's a poster pinned to the wall, but just get something up there in the first place. And on the note of posters, they're a really great way to get some large artwork on a budget. I would always recommend framing them though, as when you staple things to the wall or pin them to the wall, it tends to look a little bit cheap and a little bit dorm roomy. So I would try and hang things that are framed on your wall, unless it's a canvas painting. The next symptom of a divorced dad home is going to be the midlife crisis weird chair. And I've seen this in not just divorced dads' homes. I've seen this in plenty of spaces, and you guys really need to get your act together. Because why do you have a modern apartment and one singular velvet chair that is Gothic inspired? It does not make any sense to me. It does not. Get rid of it. It's just so deeply out of place. One statement piece can be really great, but it still has to kind of match the energy of your home in a way so it'll look correct. I always tell my clients to mix styles. I think it's the best way to create a layered and dynamic space, but you have to make sure that the styles speak to each other in the furniture that you select. So if I have a all mid-century modern living room and I'm trying to introduce some new styles, maybe like Art Deco or Brutalist, go for something a little bit more warmer and a little bit more linear in those styles, so it'll kind of tie in with the mid-century furniture and still be a little bit different. It's great to have some contrast, but you don't want to be so contrasting that you're in two different worlds, if you get my gist. Statement pieces need context and shouldn't just be thrown in there. Now, this next one is something that I just do not understand from anybody. This has actually kind of reformed itself in the Gen Z home design era, and that is going to be like an overload of masculine energy in the space. I'm not like opposed to that, but I always think that the best spaces have a really great balance between masculine and feminine energies. If your home looks like the Bat Cave with black furniture, a black mirror, and black bedding, it might be time to reassess. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, this is kind of manifested nowadays, but now it's kind of like deep navy blues, a lot of chrome, and a lot of gray. And those things aren't necessarily bad, but they need to be coupled with things that are going to kind of balance them out, because too much of any one thing is not going to look correct. It'll just start to look like a theme. Masculine design does not mean lifeless. Add in some texture, add in some wood, a lot of fabric, and maybe even a pop of color. You don't want to feel like you're living in a dungeon. It's just not cute. If you want to buy that ugly leather couch, fine, but maybe pair it with something soft. Give us some contrast so we're not all overwhelmed by the intense vibes. The last symptom of divorced energy is going to be no plants and no candles. And you might be saying, Cooper, this is such a small detail. Why does it even matter if your home has plants or candles? I get it. But these two things are especially important because they add life to your space. One of the best ways to make your home feel cozy and warm is to add signs of life. So, you know, whether that be shoes by the front door or little magnets on the fridge or candles or plants, those things are going to be really important. You don't want your home to feel like a sterile museum. You want it to feel like a home. So put something in your space that smells good, that feels soft, or makes some noise when the breeze hits it. That's what turns a home into a vibe. There's a very big difference between having an aesthetic home and a home that's warm and cozy. An aesthetic home is one that's just pretty to look at, and it might not be functional or lovely to be in the first place. So it is really important to consider those things. Now, for the rest of the video, I wanted to give you guys some simple, quick fixes for this kind of vibe to really help elevate your space and make it feel a little bit more warm and cozy. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about here is bedding, because I think it's a really quick upgrade that you can make without spending a lot of money or having to go through a lot of hassle. So what I always recommend is going for a more warm toned bedding. Personally, for me, I actually have bedding from the company called Tekla. It's a striped cream and dark brown duvet, and honestly, I love it. It's so comfortable. It was a little bit on the the pricier side, so you don't necessarily have to get it from them. But doing something colorful and soft is going to be really important, even if you have that mattress on the floor like me. What I'd always recommend is doing linen or a percale bedding. I think that they are the most comfortable and the softest, and I would say 100% of the time you guys should be doing duvets and duvet covers. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before on my channel, but here is a little interior design secret, and that would be that if you're going to get a duvet, you need to make sure that you get a duvet insert that's one size bigger than the actual duvet cover. Because if you've bought a duvet or duvet cover before, you might have thought, why doesn't this look like the pictures on the outside of the box or in magazines with that overstuffed look? And that's because they actually fill it with a larger size duvet insert. It'll make things feel so much more cloud-like and really give your space that editorial look. So that is going to be something that is really important. Another thing that I think is really helpful here is investing in colorful foundation pieces. You know, like I was talking about before, one thing that gives this divorced dad energy is getting everything super cheap and super fast. And a lot of the times when you do that, you go with the most standard and manufactured items possible. What I always recommend is, take your time, slow down. You don't need to buy everything at once. Hunt for some cool vintage pieces that are going to add some color to your home. Take that jump and buy that blue couch or that red couch or, whatever. You don't need to be so boring in every home decor choice, because trust me, you will figure it out eventually and you'll love your space so much more. If I had a beige couch and a beige rug in my living room, I think I would like it significantly less and it wouldn't have any kind of personality. So just take that into consideration when you're looking at these basic pieces. Another thing that's going to be really important here is layout. I find that a lot of people really struggle with the layout of their homes, especially if they live in an apartment like a studio or one bedroom, because you're working with limited space and you have a lot of different things to fit in that one box. So when it comes to layout, my best advice is going to be make sure that you have designated spaces. You don't want to have a living room slash office slash dining room all kind of in the same vicinity and all, smushed together. I don't know. You want things to kind of feel separate, so you have, oh, here's my living room, oh, here's my office, oh, here's my dining room, even if it's all under the same roof and in the same room. One of the best ways to do this is to invest in some rugs. It's always best to get rugs that are going to, at the very least, cover all the legs of the furniture in that designated area. So if you want to get a dining room rug and a living room rug, that's a really great start. And that way you kind of have a little bit of differentiation. And you can also get a different color for each one, so spaces feel a little bit more separated. I think nowadays, especially in all of this new housing, things can just feel really bland and boring, and you have to look for a little bit more of a creative way to spice things up. So listen, if your space feels like a divorced dad crash pad, let's fix that. Let's get it together. It's gonna be okay, you guys. You deserve better. You deserve a home that feels like you, not like a hotel that charges by the week. So go hang that art. Go buy that cool lamp. Light that candle. Don't cheap out on a rug. Just save your money and get one that you actually like. It's the best decision you can make. And you guys, tell me in the comments, what's the one design choice that you've made while you're spiraling? And if you stayed till this point in the video, I would absolutely love if you could subscribe and like the video. It seriously does help me out quite a bit. And of course, if you're struggling with your own space, you can always hire me as your interior decorator. I would absolutely love to help you with your project, no matter how big or small. And you can find me on all social media at cooper.osinski. I'm here every Sunday. I post every Sunday at 6 a.m. PST. And yeah, thank you guys so much for supporting me. I hope you guys are having a great day, whatever day you're watching this, and I will see you next week.